You want to improve your overall joint stabilization to enhance your overall body performance. So with improved body performance comes an increase of muscle tissue, which therefore burns more calories and collectively progresses you towards the body composition goals that you may set.
Hello and welcome to the Core Podcast. We're your hosts, Sandini Keller
And Shannon Polson.
I'm a precision nutrition certified coach.
And I'm a NASM certified personal trainer for over 13 years. We support women 30 years old and over to pursue health through realistic nutrition and fitness strategies. Our passion is to help you find that smile when you look in the mirror, find freedom when you eat, and joy in moving your body.
Make sure to subscribe for your bi-weekly dose of doable health tips, practical advice, and so much more. It's the health education you wish you'd had. Welcome to this episode of the Core Podcast. And today we are talking about the pros and cons of working out with machines, whether you do it at the gym or at home. Some people have enough space to have some machines at home. What are the pros and cons of using these machines? Let's do it.
All right, thank you. So we will first start out with who this information is tailored towards. So a lot of the pros and cons of weight machines, this information will be tailored towards individuals that have recently begun an exercise regimen, individuals who have been using weight machines over a long period of time and have not progressed out of weight machines. This information is good for people that do not have the knowledge of free weights, whether that's dumbbells, plates, kettlebells. And then this excludes those with increased limitations or are in a training phase where machines may not be appropriate to their goals. So first we'll start out with weight machines and their advantages. So there's often a good resistance training method for therapy, elderly or new clients coming into a gym setting or your home setting. So the pros are machines are easy to use. They're less intimidating than dumbbells. And I think that we can all demonstrate some kind of anxiety when you walk into a big gym and you see all those free weights lined up against the wall, usually next to a mirror. So machines are just less intimidating. Machines are great for individuals that lack balance. So it goes into play with individuals that are in physical therapy, any kind of cardiac rehab. If you are coming out of a sickness or an illness where you are weaker than what you normally are and you have less balance, or you are an elderly person and you, again, have a lack of balance. Weight machines are also good for individuals that have any kind of limitations. So a lot of times when you walk into a gym, you can clearly see that the weight machines have a seat in which you can sit in. Whether you're doing a lat pull down, a chest press, or even a row, you can easily navigate the weight machines, so you can grab an efficient workout at a fixed machine versus worrying about maybe a dumbbell that's too heavy or any other pieces of equipment in the free weight area. Another advantage to weight machines is the ability to change the load rather quickly with either a simple pull of a pin or a turn of a dial. So if you're sitting at a row machine, you can easily either pull out your pin or turn the dial and either increase or decrease the weight right there while you sit. So it's kind of nice. So again, if you have lack of balance or that limitation, that seated weight machine is going to be really, really good for you. Another advantage is you don't need a spotter. So because you are normally in a seated position and you can easily adjust your weight, you don't really need anybody else around you while you use that machine. I would definitely recommend, if you haven't used machines before or you're starting out on a new piece of equipment, to have a trainer or a spotter nearby just to make sure that your range of motion is appropriate as well as your weight. So, there are a lot of disadvantages to weight machines as well. So, just to kind of have a side note here, when I train clients in the gym, I typically start them out on weight machines to see what their range of motion is like and what kind of load they can handle. And I try to fairly quickly progress them out of weight machines. And here's why. Weight machines don't always significantly improve your core stability or your neuromuscular efficiency. So, that is just your proper movement patterns. So, let's say that you have a chest press machine. So, you're sitting in the seat, you have your three touch points. So, your feet are on the floor. Your hips are back against the back of the seat, and then your head is neutral. That's your 3-point touch. So if you perform that chest press, so you're exhaling, pressing the arms away from the chest, and then you're going to inhale, slowly bring those hands back towards the chest. That's a great movement pattern, but the weight machine is telling you where your arms and your hands should go. So you're not properly using the movement patterns to create core stability. Now, if you are on a bench or lying in a supine position on a bench or on your back, and then you perform a chest press. So you exhale, press the dumbbells away from your chest, inhale, bring the dumbbells back to the shoulders. Not only are you utilizing stability within the shoulders, but you are significantly improving your core stabilization as well, because you have to keep yourself on the bench while you're pressing these heavy dumbbells away from your body. So again, it just goes back that dumbbells, free weights, whatever you might want to call them, will just give you more core stability. It'll work your nervous system a little bit better, as it doesn't offer that artificial support. Free weights are great because it utilizes your own body mechanics, whereas weight machines do not. Another disadvantage of weight machines is they often fail to utilize multi-joint movements. So that is where you're utilizing both your upper and your lower body to perform one particular exercise. This also includes a disadvantage of primarily only working in one plane of motion at a time. So it goes back to the chest press, the lat pull down, the row. If you're all seated, you're performing a single joint exercise and you're not using your various planes of motion. Whereas if you have free weights, you might be able to do a side step up with a overhead press. So now you're getting your lateral movement as you perform a step up, and then you're creating that multi-joint movement by performing an overhead press. During the initial stages of exercising, weight machines may be necessary to offer a less intimidating environment. So, kind of heading back to, it's okay to start out on weight machines. Like I said, if you have a lack of balance, you're part of the elderly population, or you're just starting out, machines provide a great strength option that can fit your capability. Your phase of training with machines may last anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, depending on your consistency of exercise and strength stabilization level. So, if you're one of those three groups that I mentioned, again, therapy, elderly, or lack of balance, you want to maintain a consistent exercise routine for 4 to 6 weeks before you move on to free weights. So, an example of progressing from a weight machine to free weights, we can go back to that chest press machine. So, if you begin on a machine and you're performing a chest press, to progress would be to do a bench dumbbell chest press. So, kind of from the example of before, where you're lying supine position and you're pressing the dumbbells away from the chest. Another thing too is if you are progressing from of a machine, is you can always move into the stability ball. So the stability ball is a really great kind of middle ground for you. So if you are used to sitting on a machine, now you can move to sitting on a stability ball where you're grabbing more core stabilization, but you're still in a seated position. Continue to progress by engaging your entire body. So it goes back to the multi-joint exercises. You want to improve your overall joint stabilization to enhance your overall body performance. So, with improved body performance comes an increase of muscle tissue, which therefore burns more calories and collectively progresses you towards the body composition goals that you may set. So, to kind of recap of our pros and cons of weight machines, there's many advantages to weight machines. I would say definitely start on machines. I know when I used to work out in a gym, I would have split days. So, a lot of days I would be on the free weights. Other days I would be utilizing the machines because there's a lot of movements that you can't necessarily gather with free weights that machines can offer you. Um, but unfortunately, there's some of those disadvantages, just basically not significantly improving your core stabilization. And core stabilization is ultimately the foundation of any successful fitness routine. So, your core stabilization is very similar to the foundation of a house. You have to have a strong foundation before you can start to build up. And then you just want to make sure that your movement patterns are proper and efficient before you move on to your free weights. If you have any questions at all on what a 4 to 6 week program would look like for machines, or how you can progress from your weight machines to move into more free weights, definitely feel free to reach out. I love this topic so much as I've worked with many clients that have used both free weights and machines, and both are great. Both have pros and cons. I mean, even free weights have their cons, but just finding a program that fits you where you're at in your journey, because that's what matters. It's not where everybody else is at, it's where you're at in your journey and what you need to target and hit your goals.
I love it. And it's funny because every time a question popped up for me, you answered it. So I that worked out really well because I'm like, oh, I have a question. Oh no, you answered it. So, that kept happening. But I still have only one last question.
Okay.
Do the weights translate from machine to free weights? So if somebody has been on machines for, like you said, 4 to 6 weeks, and then, oh, I'm doing the chest press on the machine, I'm going to move to the free weights. Should this person aim for the same weight that they were doing on the machine, and that's the weight that they're going to use on dumbbells, or more or less?
That's a really good question. I would recommend a less weight at first because now with free weights, you're using your own body mechanics. So the load is going to feel different. It's going to probably feel heavier than as if you were in a seated position. And again, just letting that bar basically tell you where your hands and your arms go. So I would start out light 100% because you can always increase your load. Start out low, prevent injury, and then build yourself up there when you hit those free weights.
Absolutely. And it does hit differently.
It does. There's
It does.
just different dynamics as a whole. And I mean, it's in the title, the pros and cons of weight machines. They're so great, but yes, there's a disadvantages. And I just want everyone to have the tools out there to grab a hold of just a really good exercise routine that offers a lot of different movement patterns to make sure that you're progressing towards your goals.
And I would say for everybody that goes to a gym, and of course, at the gym, you have the option of both the machine and the free weights. Try out the movement with both of them because
Mhm.
you really feel the difference, right? You go and whatever it is that the movement that you're going to do when you get the free weights, just like you said. So when Shannon talks about like core stabilization, how that feels in your body is that when you go to use the free weights, you're wobbly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In the machine, your body feels like completely stable, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm engaging my whole body. You're really not. And then when you go to the free weights, you're like, oh, okay, this is so it's a good thing for you to try when you go to the gym. Do like maybe you have 3 sets. So go to the machine for the first, then try another one. Just try it with lower weights, but try it out, and you're really going to feel a difference in how you're supposed to be engaging your body versus what the machine is doing for you.
Yes, 100%. And then another dynamic too is the tempo of it. I remember when I used to work in the gym, it was always a problem with the people slamming the weight machines. Because if
Yes.
you're doing that chest press, like, oh, it's super hard, I'm pressing that machine away from my body, but then they don't have the muscle strength or the stabilization to slowly bring the
Mhm.
hands back to the chest. They just slam the weights back. So now the weights just slammed back. Your hands all of a sudden are back to your shoulders, and you didn't properly work on your eccentric isolation and concentric movements. So, and that also goes into free weights too. I mean, you could
Yes.
easily do an overhead press and your tempo is okay, pressing and elevating the hands to the sky, but slowly bringing back the dumbbells to your shoulders. Not a lot of people do. They just gravity takes over,
Plop.
drop right back down to the shoulders. So definitely pay attention to that dynamic for both free weights and machines.
My son, my 9-year-old, has recently started working out with me. It's very like loose. I don't want anybody to think that he has like a specific routine or schedule. He they know I work out every day and he wants to get stronger and he's like, "Hey mom, can I work out?" And I will always say yes, right? But anyway, that's one of the things that I talk about every single time, and slowly he's gotten better at that. Is
Mm-hmm.
And what I say is don't plop, control your way down,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we see all the time. People do all the grunting and the effort to do the movement, but they don't put any effort to control the movement going back, and then it's just it just, well, it looks bad, but it's also not good for you.
Oh my gosh. I tell you what, when I worked at the gym, like I said, there was a lot of clunking of the weight
Yeah.
machines, the weight stacks. And I understand too, like if you're a bodybuilder and you're working at a competition and your main goal in a deadlift is to just lift that weight up, like how many people just would slam that 500-pound dumbbell or
Yes.
barbell, I should say, with the plates back on the ground? Like, there's no control. Yes, you just lifted 500 pounds, but can you carefully set it down? No, no?
And
Okay.
you know what? If
So,
if anybody's watched a powerlifting competition, like it's about the lift. It's not about the way
mhm,
back. But that
exactly.
being said, 90% of us aren't doing that, right? So we need to control the weight on the way down.
100%. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not one to really work with the bodybuilders, but yeah,
No.
just control, pace, your tempo. It's really, really a good dynamic to keep in mind when you're training. So,
Absolutely. All right. Well, as always, we had a lot of great information here, and I want to whet your appetite for our next episode, which is going to be 5 tips to grocery shop for fat loss. So, if you are trying to
ooh.
lose fat, I am going to give you 5 tips when you're at the grocery store. What do you do? So, we're going to work on that in the next episode.
So I imagine one of the tips is to not have a glass of wine and then go grocery shopping.
That didn't make my list, but I can add that in.
And a bonus tip, just Shannon's
A
tip.
bonus trip. Don't drink and drive a grocery cart.
Yes, yes. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.